Alright, good afternoon everyone and thank you for joining. My name is Christine Hullen from Connecting Up, and over here we have Ryan who's also from Connecting Up, and he will take you through the webinar today. Before we start, just a few housekeeping notes. For those of you who are unaware, that TechSoup New Zealand is actually a program that's brought to you by Connecting Up, so for the Technology Donations and Discounts program, and that's what we will be talking about today. Ryan will take you through the program itself, some of the products that's available, how it can benefit your not-for-profit organization, and if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please type them in the question or chat box, and we will address them one by one as we go along towards the end. So at this point, I will hand it over to Ryan.
Thanks, Christine, and thanks for everyone for attending. I just want to let you know
Sorry, we're just having a bit of an audio problems. We'll be back soon. Hang on a second.
Is that better?
Is that better?
Excellent.
Excellent. Okay. So yeah, I just want to let you know that this webinar is for you and for your understanding of the TechSoup New Zealand program and the products that are available. It's been put together through the questions that you asked when you signed up for the webinar. So I really want to encourage you to take this opportunity to ask any questions that you might have about the program, and feel free to just ask them as we go along, and Christine will read them out as we get up to that point in the webinar. So I thought we'd start today. We had a few questions similar to this. How do I know which donors I can request from? Well, as some of you would be aware, through TechSoup New Zealand, all of our donor partners have slightly different areas of giving, slightly different focuses for their corporate philanthropy. So not every organisation will necessarily be eligible for every one of our donation partners. To find out which donors you can request from, if you click on the My Account link, which on the brand new TechSoup New Zealand website is in the top black bar, and then look under the heading Organisation and Program Qualification Status. That will show you all of the partners that are available through TechSoup New Zealand and whether you qualify for them. If you've got any questions about the eligibility, you can feel free to contact our customer support team and they'll be able to help you clarify that. So some basics that apply to all of the products available through TechSoup New Zealand. One of the things that we find most helpful for charities is to get all of their computers on the one version of software. So whether that is Windows, whether that is Office, whatever your charity is using, having everybody on the one version means that you don't have little compatibility issues by sending files to other people that can't open them. And it also means that if all of your computers are on the same software, the same versions, then if somebody needs to use somebody else's computer, they can quite easily do that. 32-bit versus 64-bit software is a question that we get quite a lot. So I don't know what 32-bit is, I don't know what 64-bit is, I just want a copy of Windows, for example. The main difference is all to do with the way that the software uses the memory on your computer, or the RAM on your computer. And as a general rule, you can't really get this too far wrong, whether you pick 32 or 64-bit. But if your computer has 3.5 gigabytes of RAM or more, order the 64-bit version. If your computer has 3.5 gigabytes or less RAM, get the 32-bit version. If you have a 32-bit version of Windows installed on your computer, make sure you request the 32-bit version of any other software you're going to run on that computer. But these days, I think Office comes as one unified bundle, so you don't really need to worry about that with Office. It's mainly with operating systems that you need to take that into account. Now with client access licenses, this is another one that's quite common. Client access licenses are required for server access. Majority of the Microsoft servers, everybody who wants to connect to that server needs a client access license. Now there are two main types of client access licenses, and that is user and device. And again, this is an area that you can't go too far wrong, really. If you order a user client access license, then that gives one user the rights to access one server on as many devices as they want. So if you have an organization where a user might access the server from their phone, might access the server from their laptop, there might be a shared desktop that they use, then you'd be better off ordering user client access licenses. Whereas if you order a device, then that means one computer can have as many users as you want connect to that server through it. So if you had shared computers, you'd usually use device client access licenses for that. Now the other one is server versus cloud. If you're looking at hosting your own email, an intranet, customer relationship management, these are all things that we'll go over later, by the way, then you need to make a decision on whether you're going to host it yourself or whether you're going to host it in the cloud. Not many people realize that the licenses that you get through TechSoup New Zealand, you can install them on a server that you have in your office, which is probably more of a traditional model, or you can install those licenses on a cloud server. So you can install it in anyone's data center you like that meets your requirements, and by installing your licenses, you can usually save quite a lot of money just in the using the donation. Do we have any questions on that, Christine? Excellent. So some basics of the Microsoft Software Donation Program. If you're eligible for the program, you can order up to 10 titles and up to 50 copies of each. So an example of a title might be Microsoft Office. So you could order up to 50 copies of Microsoft Office Professional Plus, or you could order up to 25 copies of Office Professional Plus and 25 copies of Office Standard, for example. So you can make up that number of copies from any products within that title group. The exceptions to this are server licenses, where you can order up to 5 servers total. So they exist outside of the title groups, and you can't order up to 50 copies of those. And the other exception is the Get Genuine software. That's designed as a one-off donation to help your organization get onto genuine copies of the latest version of Windows. So you can order up to 50 copies of that, but that is a one-off donation. Now all of this sounds a little bit confusing, but Microsoft made this a bit easier for people about 18 months ago. They changed their restrictions so that you can now order whenever you like, and you can order a minimum of 1 license. And to manage all of that and to keep an eye on what you can order, if you go to TechSoup.net.nz/Microsoft_donation_center, you'll be able to see on that page straight away how much you have already received and what additional licenses you can request. It puts it all on one screen, and it's all very easy to follow. Now there are a couple of things different about the Microsoft Software Donation Program to licenses that you would buy in a shop. through the donation program, you get access to volume licenses, which need to be activated through the Volume License Service Centre. The first time you do that, you need to register for the centre, so it can take a little bit longer, but the benefits are that you get software assurance. So 2 years from the release of, 2 years from your order, you get access to free updates of the Microsoft products released in that time. So if you ordered a copy of Windows 8 today, and in 18 months' time Windows 9 came out, then you would be able to just go onto the Volume License Centre and download a copy of Windows 9 whenever you're ready. Same goes for Microsoft Office. If you ordered a copy of Microsoft Office 2010 today, then you would be able to get any new copies of Microsoft Office released in the next 2 years. And the other major benefit of this is that you get quick and easy access to software downloads. So if you lose your media, you lose all your disks, you can quite easily go onto the Volume License Service Centre and just download a copy and install it onto your computer. So a couple of the most popular products in the Microsoft range. Windows is obviously one of our most popular. Microsoft Windows 8 has just been released. I'm sure you've heard about that. So we get a lot of people asking, when do you need the Get Genuine version and when do you need the upgrades? The upgrades are for anyone upgrading from a previous version, a previous professional version of Windows. So that might be Windows 7 Professional, it might be Windows Vista Business, even Windows XP Professional. You can use the Get Genuine license when you have to upgrade from any others. So if you need to upgrade Windows 7 home computers, if you need to upgrade computers that are using pirated copies of Windows 7 or Windows Vista, then Get Genuine is the way to go. And once you've got those Get Genuine licenses, then future version of Windows, when they come out, you can just order the upgrades. Now the important thing about Windows at the moment is Microsoft have announced that Windows XP is now end of life. I know there are a number of charities that are still running Windows XP. So it's important to start looking forward and working on a plan to upgrade your computers away from Windows XP, because security updates are soon to be discontinued. And when they're discontinued, then your data is not necessarily safe on the computers anymore. You need to make sure that those are protected. Microsoft Office is also one of the most popular products in the range, particularly in New Zealand. And there are a couple of things that I've been finding recently. There are still a number of organisations using Microsoft Office versions earlier than Office 2007. The earlier versions are no longer supported, so again, you're not getting any of those updates anymore. And in 2007, Microsoft introduced a new format called DocX. It's a really good format. It reduces the size of your files and it makes it a bit easier for compatibility. But unless you downloaded a compatibility pack, you couldn't open the files in earlier versions of Office, and you couldn't edit them and save them in the newer version of Office. So it's important to upgrade if you're using Office 2003 or earlier. Office 2010 is the latest version. Now the difference between Office Professional Plus and Office Standard is Office Professional Plus gives you Microsoft Access, Business Contact Manager for Outlook, which I know a lot of you use, and tools for server integration. So if you have a Link server, a Groove server, things like that, SharePoint, then Professional Plus is the better option for your organisation. If you're not using servers in that way, then maybe Standard is the right way for you. And it's important to note as well that we also have Office for Mac 2011, and we do keep all of the Microsoft products for Mac in the range. One of our other really popular resources at the moment is the Refurbished Computer Program. So we work with a number of partners to bring discounted refurbished computers to New Zealand charities whether they're desktops or laptops. Now, there are no order limits in terms of these refurbished computers. This is a discount program, so it works slightly differently to the donations. And they're all refurbished by Microsoft certified refurbishers, and they all come pre-installed with Windows 7 and Office 2007 Home and Student Edition. So you can find the whole refurbished computer range on the website, and you can have a look through there and see what might suit your requirements. So a couple of the things that were really popular questions were, what can I actually do with all of this technology? It's great that I can get these donations, but what does it mean for my charity? Well, if your charity needs to allow staff to work remotely, whether they need access to patient files when they're at a patient's house, whether they need customer relationship management software, whether they just need help working together or receiving emails, then we're going to go through a couple of different scenarios now, and hopefully that gives you an idea of what you can do. There are also some case studies on the Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand websites on what different charities have used. So CRM, the customer or constituent relationship management. There are a couple of different ways that most charities use CRM software. They can be used for member management if you're a member-based organisation, and you can keep copies of any interactions that you've had with those members. You can use it for patient records. You can use it for keeping track of volunteers, donors, funders. It can really be set up to keep a track of the relationship that you have with anyone that you work with. And that's useful for working collaboratively because you can store all of this information in one database, and it means that if you've recently had contact with an individual or an organisation and it's in the CRM, then when somebody else comes along and they have an interaction with the same organisation, then they can look up that record and they can see exactly what you were talking about, and they can pick up from where you left off. And obviously it can also be used for the patient record side of things. So you can quite easily access the latest patient records for as far down the track as you require. Now, the Microsoft solution for CRM is Dynamic CRM, and it comes in two versions. There's a workgroup version and a normal version. The workgroup version is designed for small organizations because it can only be accessed by up to 5 users. The normal version is accessible to as many users as your server can handle, but each user needs a client access license. So Microsoft have thought about small charities, and if you've only got a couple of people in your organisation, then the workgroup version would probably be perfect for you. Do we have any questions on the CRM, Christine?
Yes, there's one question on CRM, but also there is a question on cloud. Can you probably just explain a bit more what cloud is, Ryan, because you mentioned it a bit earlier. And then there's another question on saying, can CRM be used through a cloud server?
Yep, absolutely. So the cloud is a common name given to remote servers. Theoretically, the cloud is servers which are can be turned up and down depending on your requirements, and your server is distributed over other physical servers. Basically, the premise of the cloud is that you don't have a physical server anymore. You rent the space from somebody online. The big names in that are Amazon, Rackspace, there's a few others. And the real advantage is that you only pay for what you use. So you can start up your server, and if you don't use a lot of disk space, then you don't need a big server. And then as you need more, you can just buy the resources that you need instead of having a large investment in a physical server that exists in your office. Now, having a remote server is a really great idea if you have people who work for you that need to access files remotely or need to access resources remotely. So if you have the server within your office and the internet connection goes down to your office, then you lose access to email, remote staff lose access to the server, things like that. If the server was in the cloud, the chances of that internet connection going down drop dramatically. Majority of the cloud providers provide guarantees that your internet will be up 99.99% of the time. So it's this always on ability, so you can always access your data from wherever you are and lower your total cost of getting the server in the first place. Now in terms of Dynamics CRM in the cloud, you can definitely install your Dynamics licenses on a Windows cloud server, and there are a few different cloud providers that can help you do that. And then it's a question of whether you can install your other Microsoft licenses. So whether you request a donation of Windows Server 2012, install that on your cloud server, and then install Microsoft Dynamics CRM on that. And then all you would need is your client access licenses to be able to access that server. If you are looking to go down that route though, I definitely recommend you speak to a few cloud providers about what you're trying to do, and you may actually need somebody to help you on the ground. You may need to speak to a local IT provider who's got experience with Dynamics to help you implement that.
I'm just going to mention there are actually quite a number of questions here about cloud. Unfortunately, I will try to reserve it for a bit later if we do have time, because this webinar is not supposed to be about cloud. But also to let you know, we do have a recording on cloud computing, the basics of it, and including considerations that you need to take into account. If you just go to our YouTube channel, and I will let you know in the follow-up email later, you can watch through the recording, and hopefully that will give you a better understanding of cloud and the services. Just a couple of other questions about CRM. I mean, we've already asked about, can CRM be used through a cloud server and accessed through cloud? And there's another one here about, is CRM complicated to set up? Does it come with standard settings, or do you need to set it up to suit your organization? Is there a lot of time and expertise involved in doing this?
Depending on what you wanted to do with your CRM, there are packages available that will automatically configure Dynamics for most requirements. There is one for charities that helps them track funders, and there are a few templates that you can get online that will help you set it up. If you are looking at setting it up, it might be worthwhile speaking to somebody to look at how you're going to set it up for your exact requirements. Or if you're pretty handy with IT, you can install it and see how you go and get help when you get stuck. Try out your luck with the templates and see how you go. And then if you do need additional assistance, then there's always dynamic CRM people that can help you with that.
I think that also practically answers the question about, is it straightforward to use and does it require much training? So again, I think it depends on what you're using it for, basically.
In terms of how to use it once it's set up, it is relatively simple to use. It's designed to be, not a whole lot more complicated than sending emails or accessing, making page changes to content management systems. There are tools to make online edits to your CRM, and there are desktop tools so that you can edit your records.
Ryan, earlier you talked about CALs for CRM. Does this mean each user needs a Windows access to, or are these database CALs?
These are CALs to access the Dynamics CRM. So if you need to access Dynamics over, say, remote desktop, then you would need the Windows remote desktop CALs as well. But my understanding is that Dynamics, if you're only accessing it through the Dynamics client, you only need the Dynamics CAL.
So if we have an employee database in Microsoft Access, would these be able to transfer it into the Dynamics CRM?
Not something I know 100% off the top of my head, but yeah, I'm 99% sure that that is something that's achievable.
We also do have a dynamic CRM recording on YouTube that gives you a bit more details on dynamics, but I can't exactly remember because this was a while ago whether that particular question was answered, but it probably is. So if you do want to check it out, just go to Connecting Up's YouTube channel and go to webinar playlist and you'll find it there. Just one last question on dynamics. So just to confirm, so the dynamics fields are customizable?
Yes, it's completely customizable.
That's all the questions we have for CRM at the moment. So Ryan, if you just want to go on with your presentation.
Onward. Okay, now the next area is the Citrix discount program. Now I had a number of people ask the question about teleconferencing, remote working, video conferencing, what was available through TechSoup New Zealand. The Citrix offer a discount program through TechSoup New Zealand. So there's a 90% discount on the Citrix programs. So today you're obviously on a Citrix product, you're using GoToWebinar. Here at Connecting Up we use GoToMeeting a lot of the time to have teleconferences. So that offers a web conferencing situation where you can share webcams and desktop screens and voice, but it's also got a phone backup as well, so if you want to just have phone conferences. And there's also a GoTo training program available now, which is designed for when you're doing training with a group of people so that you can access their screens and help them through things. Now, Citrix offer a 90% discount. Through TechSoup New Zealand, if you order the Citrix products, you pay us a small administration fee, and then you have to pay Citrix the same amount again, and that total amount between the two of us is the 90%. So it's a little bit complicated, but the products are really good. We've been using them at Connecting Up for the last year for all of our webinars, and we've found them really easy to use, and the pricing that Citrix offers for charities is really good. Okay, so SharePoint is another one that I had a few questions about. So people were asking about how to set up internal networks, message boards, bulletin boards, intranet software, those kind of things. Microsoft SharePoint is great for that. There is a version for external facing websites as well, but the most common version is the SharePoint that's used for intranets. So that can be to set up an internal website which has all your forms on it, has all of your brand assets if you have marketing departments that need to share logos and things with other employees. And it can be useful for sending messages to other staff and things like that. It's also useful because SharePoint can be accessed remotely from your server. SharePoint's been a really popular product with charities in Australia and New Zealand. And so if you're looking to set up an intranet, then Microsoft SharePoint is probably the way to go, probably one of the easiest solutions for you. I also had a large number of questions on email and how to host email and how to share inboxes. So Microsoft's email solution is Exchange Server. Exchange Server has been fairly common in the corporate world for the last 10 years, and it's becoming more and more common in the not-for-profit sector. We use it at Connecting Up, and we use it quite extensively because here at Connecting Up, if you've ever dealt with TechSoup New Zealand customer support, all of the support emails go into one inbox and are handled by a team of support people, and they're able to access that one inbox. They're able to have a shared inbox, and when one person's read the email, it marks as read for everyone, and when somebody has forwarded, replied to, anything like that email, then it is marked next to that email. And then when we've processed it, those emails go into separate folders which mark them as processed. So if you are working collaboratively on a inquiry inbox or some form of shared inbox where you're trying to communicate to people, Microsoft Exchange is really handy for that. The other thing it's really useful for that we use extensively is shared calendars. So if Christine wants to set up a meeting with me, she can actually go onto Exchange and see my calendar and see when I have a gap in my calendar, and she can set up a meeting with me very easily, knowing that there won't be a conflict. Whether I want to have a meeting with Christine is another question, but it's quite easy to set up these meetings without conflicts, and that becomes especially important when you're trying to organise meetings with 10 different people within your organisation. And again, Exchange Server is one of those Microsoft products that can be hosted on a server in your organisation or on a remote or cloud server. And more often, I'd probably recommend that you host Exchange on a server outside of your organisation, because that way, if that internet connection to your organisation does break, then at least you know that emails will still be getting to the server, and when your internet connection comes back up, you'll just receive all those emails, no problems at all. Do we have questions, Christine?
We do, Ryan. We do have a few about the webinar thing. So it's very interesting because obviously Connecting Up has been running webinar using this platform, and which is similar to GoToMeeting. So we'll be able to quite give you an answer from a user perspective as well. First of all, I just asked this question from Ray. You were saying before, Ryan, that it's not discounted by 90% because between the two fees you pay 90% total, or the 10%. If you just clarify on that.
So you pay Connecting Up a 5% administration fee, and then you pay the remaining 5% to Citrix, and so you're still getting a 90% discount. It's just a little bit more complicated because you have to pay that 10% to two separate organisations.
In simple terms, you only pay 10%, not the 90%. So 90% is the discount.
Correct.
Yeah. So Katie's asking, is GoToWebinar different from GoToMeetings because it looks the same to her? Well, they are similar, but they do have some differences. Ryan, do you want to go through that?
They are virtually identical from a usability point of view. The difference being that GoToWebinar is more set up for larger audiences. So GoToMeeting has a cap on the number of people that can attend your meeting. GoToWebinar, that cap rises to, I think it's 1,000, but there are different levels. And the other difference is that when you registered for this webinar, you would have seen the nice registration form that you filled out, and you received an email confirming your registration. That doesn't exist in GoToMeeting. If you are organising the meeting, you have to send your own invitations out to those people that you're actually inviting to the meeting, because you don't just want everyone registering for a private meeting.
Helen has a question. What are the benefits of GoTo over Skype for tutoring? I mean, I for one who facilitates webinars, I think GoToMeeting will be very beneficial in terms of screen sharing, that you can share PowerPoints. Is that correct, Ryan? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, that's one potential use. The other thing that we found recently is that if you're doing one-on-one tutoring over Skype, then that's fine, and that's probably a great solution for you. It's definitely low cost. The problems that start occurring when you're trying to deal with more than one person, and that's when you need to start paying for Skype, and it can become a little bit less manageable. GoToMeeting, GoToTraining, they have tools included which are specifically designed for the scenario where you're dealing with, say, a class of 20 people, and you're trying to run that class. So it gives you extra tools to see their screens, to do things like that that are required in bigger groups.
Does each site need a subscription if you're using GoToMeeting? I think is that what you're saying is if there are two people using it, do both people have to have a subscription?
No, no. The person who calls the meeting has to have the subscription, but not everyone on the meeting has to have a subscription.
So basically the organizer has to have the subscription because they're the one who organizes and sets it up. Yeah. Some people have had a lot of trouble with GoToMeetings with variable connection quality and people dropping in and out. Is this something we can do anything about, or is it really just the internet connection of each person?
In general, it is the internet connection of each person. We have found ourselves that a good backup is to go back to the phone line, and the phone audio can be a lot more reliable when you just don't have that internet connection. GoToMeeting does use a kind of complicated system to try and make sure that regardless of what your internet quality is like, you will be able to access it. But sometimes if the internet connection is that variable, there's just nothing that you can do about it. So it's a combination, but if you do use the phone line as a backup and you do offer the recording, then that can sometimes be a really good way of getting around it.
Great. Some of the other questions I have are probably just more to do with the generic program, so I might let you continue first, Ryan, and I'll ask some of these at the end.
Sure. Okay. Now this is a hidden little secret that sometimes people do and sometimes people don't ask about. Volunteers and donations. So the charity sector is full of volunteers and full of volunteer-run organisations, and we and all of our donor partners understand this. So, and quite often volunteers are using their own computers to support the programs of the charity, but they need the software to be able to do the job properly. Volunteers can actually install donated software licenses on their own computers. The only thing is that the not-for-profit has to retain ownership of the licenses. So all that means for you is if you have a volunteer board that need Microsoft Office to read and edit board reports, then they can install those donated licenses on their computers, but when they leave the board of the organisation, it's expected that they will give those licenses back to the organisation. So that's something that not a lot of people understand, but a lot of people can make use of. Not every charity needs computers. Quite often they just use the volunteer computers to try and keep their costs down, but the software is available. And that's actually the end of the prepared side of the presentation. I've left plenty of time for question time so that everyone can get all of their questions out, and we can just have a bit of a chat about the program basics in general. So Christine?
Okay, first of the questions from Jackie. She's just wondering, is there any way that she can find out what products that the organisation has ordered in the past through TechSoup?
In terms of Microsoft, there is that Microsoft Software Donation Center. In terms of any other partners or any Microsoft software requested before July 2011, just send customer support an email and they will be able to send you an email back telling you what software is available. So I'll switch to the next slide. There is the phone numbers and the email address for customer support, and there is my email address too if you have any specific questions for me. So if you email support@techsoup.net.nz, they'll be able to give you an idea of what you've ordered in the past.
Great, so there's no way they can just log in online and be able to see the record of purchases or orders basically?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay. A few questions. Are you able to help a little bit with website development software? Raywin is wondering because she's currently exploring affordable software to enable them to develop and run their own website. But they're just not sure where to start. Is there such software that we can help them with?
Yeah, Microsoft Expression is a good solution for that. They do a couple of different versions which provide different functionality. But if you are looking at going down that road with the website, It's come up a few times today, but I really recommend jumping on the Connecting Up YouTube channel. We did a web revamp month last year, and we have webinar recordings on there on WordPress, Drupal and Joomla, which are 3 big content management systems. And if you install a content management system, you'll find it a lot easier to maintain the records on your website moving forward. So there's a lot of information about those on your website, on the YouTube channel, and we'll make sure that we get a link out to everyone with those details on it.
Basically, when I send you the follow-up email, I just send you the link to the webinar YouTube channel so you can see everything that we've recorded and posted up there for your access and use. Sorry, apparently I speak too fast, or I'll try to talk a little bit slower. Ian is asking again, how do you get if you use a volume license via MAS, which I assume is the Microsoft Assurance software, how will you withdraw it? And then how do you get these licenses back, and can you reuse them?
In terms of getting the licenses back, just ask the people who are no longer using them to uninstall them from their computers. And when that happens, they'll be deactivated. But through the Volume License Center, it also gives you an update on how many installation attempts you have left with the licenses that you've got. And once you run out of installation attempts, you'll need to contact Microsoft through the Volume License Center to get any additional installation attempts you require.
So someone's TechSoup account says that some products that we've bought licenses for have expired and they have not installed these yet. Can they still use them?
What licenses are they that have expired?
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. In general, and this does come up a bit as well, if it's a Microsoft product and the software assurance has expired, you can still use the software. It just means that that period of software assurance where you get all of the major software updates for free, that has expired. So when you need to, if you ordered a copy of Office 2007, then your software assurance period would be up. So when the new version of Office comes out, if you wanted to upgrade, then you just request a new donation. But you can definitely keep using the old version, no problems.
The products that have expired are Office 2010.
So they haven't,
the software itself hasn't expired, it's the software assurance. So you can definitely keep using those.
So if someone's not sure what they need, can they talk to someone in TechSoup and explain what they do so we can suggest products? I'm pretty sure, yes, you can. You can contact us or Ryan directly if you'd like to know more about, what products are available to meet what you actually need in your organization. So definitely happy to help in that area.
Sure, just email rj@techsoup.net.nz and I'll be able to have a look at that for you.
Someone also said that their GiftWorks expired before they started using it. So what can they do about that?
GiftWorks definitely isn't my area of expertise. I would email support@techsoup.net.nz and they'll be able to help you out.
Does anyone else have any other questions? That was probably the last questions we had in terms of the program and the products and softwares that we have available. Obviously, we do have a range of other things that we haven't covered, but that was probably covering the most asked questions that we had through the registration. So if anyone has further questions, there's still a lot of time, about 15 minutes that we can help you with. If not, as I mentioned, okay, here we go. What is O&O Business Suite? So what does O&O Business Suite do?
O&O Business Suite does a range of different things to basically keep your computers running as they should, running brand new. One of the really good things about the O&O Business Suite is it includes a backup solution. So we have backup exec available through Semantic, but O&O also provide that now, especially to organisations that aren't Semantic eligible. So that's one of the best ones, but there are also a range of different tune-up things, defragmenting tools, things to help make sure that all of your files are okay on your computer. It's a good idea to run those kind of things from time to time as well, just as a preventative maintenance type thing. I had to run one on mine the other day and found that I had quite a lot of temporary files stored, and half of my hard drive was freed up instantly. It was very good.
So why should a not-for-profit choose Microsoft Office over OpenOffice?
Okay, it's a really good question, and it would come down to what you're familiar with, what you like to use. I find OpenOffice and their new counterpart LibreOffice to be relatively good for simple things, but I also don't find them to be as polished as Microsoft Office programs. They don't integrate as nicely with other products. They don't come with an Outlook type program. We use Outlook quite extensively at Connecting Up. I have used OpenOffice, and I particularly like their formula editor, but the interface is really based on Office 2003, and it is quite limited in terms of the newer version of Office. Office 2010 has some really good drawing tools and has some really good programs, really good features for formatting and things that OpenOffice just hasn't kept up with. But if your organisation is using OpenOffice and it's doing what you need it to do, then by all means keep using it. But I definitely recommend that you try Microsoft Office as well and see whether that meets or exceeds your requirements.
Was just saying that she found that using OpenOffice didn't work for them as some of the trust members could not open the documents. So obviously there are some limitations around the different programs.
Well, OpenOffice can save Microsoft Word documents, so that you can still work between the two of them, but the OpenOffice specific format wouldn't be accessible by people using Microsoft Office.
So someone's also asking, Jackie is specifically asking, she thinks her computer is 32-bit and she wants to install a 62-bit version of Adobe. Can she convert the computer to 32-bit? I think she convert the version. I think that's what she meant. Because her computer is 32-bit, but the program is 62-bit version. Can she convert it?
Possibly. What I get you to do is just send me an email, and I'll need a few more details about that. Basically, it depends on whether the computer processor can support 64-bit computing. So any computer in the last 2 or 3 years definitely can. And then all it is a matter of installing a 64-bit version of Windows, and then you'll be fine.
Also, there was just a comment about that OpenOffice not being able to open. Ian was just saying that it might be about how you save the document, because you can set it to be a .doc, so people using Microsoft Office can still open it as a standard Word document.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are looking at OpenOffice, then definitely look at LibreOffice as well. The OpenOffice project had some political issues about 12 months ago, and a group of the core developers split off and launched their own program. So it's LIBRE Office. I'd recommend having a look at that because it's probably got a little bit more development behind it now, and it's a little bit more polished.
There was just a few, I don't know, there was just a comment again, like Libra is a better option. I have no idea what Libra is, but you heard of that, Ryan?
Yeah, I'd say it's a better option than OpenOffice these days, but having used all of them, I still recommend Microsoft Office. It is definitely more polished than the other two.
Again, that was the last comment / question. Anyone else have any burning last questions? Otherwise, as I said, I will send through the link to the recording of this session as well as the slides and a link to access all our previous webinars. We do have quite a range there on our YouTube channel. So as Ryan mentioned earlier, we have all the CMS webinars, the Joomla, Drupal, and WordPress, as well as the CRM webinar, Cloud webinar, and a few other social media ones if that's of interest to you. But other than that, thank you very much for attending the webinar today and for all your questions. We will continue running weekly webinars or regular webinars, so if you are interested in finding out what's coming up, please just go to our website connectingup.org/events and you can see a range of events there. We are also running a few workshops in New Zealand by the end of February, so we're running a workshop on planning and developing a mobile app for your not-for-profit or for your organisation. It's running in Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington and Christchurch from the 26th of February to the 1st of March. Again, the information will be on our website if you're interested. Registrations are open, so feel free to have a look, and if a mobile app is something that you're looking at considering of developing. Hamilton, yay. So yeah, we are running more workshops around those 4 cities. Okay, well, here we go. There's a few last minute questions. What about Office 365?
That is not something that we currently offer, but it is something that we are looking at offering in the future. The other thing to bear in mind is that Microsoft make SkyDrive available for free. You get 7 gigabytes of free cloud storage, and it works just like a normal folder on your computer. But it is backed up to the cloud. It is accessible from your mobile devices once it's up there. Anyone who's used Dropbox or Google Drive, it's almost exactly the same thing except you get more storage. And that integrates with Office so that you can store all your files on there and you can share them with people via that. And the other thing is Office Professional Plus 2010 does come with a license for Microsoft Web Apps. So you can install Microsoft Web Apps on your Windows server or your SharePoint server, and you can basically have the same setup to Office 365 on your own private cloud.
All right. Okay. Well, I'll try to close again for the second time, but Ryan, can you just clarify again what was that product with 7 gig on the cloud called again?
That was Microsoft SkyDrive.
There you go, SkyDrive. Can you please give a bit more example about that? About what you just talked about, the 365 SkyDrive and all that?
Sure. So Microsoft Server 2012 was rebuilt from the ground up to be more of a cloud-orientated system. So what you're able to do is if you had your own private cloud server, you could install Microsoft Server 2012 on the cloud server. You can install SharePoint on the same server. You can install Microsoft Web Apps. You'd be able to log into your SharePoint. You'd be able to view all your forms. You'd be able to click on it and open it in Microsoft Office Web Apps. You'd be able to edit all of your files that way using a very similar interface to Office 365. The newer versions of Exchange also offer the same kind of functionality in terms of online access to emails, calendars, things like that. And anyone who's familiar with it, the interface for the newer version of Exchange is almost identical to Hotmail and Microsoft's mail clients. So you essentially have more control over your data security and your licenses, and you would, because you've got control over it, you can port it to different server providers and things like that.
Okay, well, we have about 6 minutes left, and I think people are starting to leave as they have other appointments at 2 o'clock. Okay, once again, thank you. I hope to see you again on our next webinars, and anytime you have any questions about TechSoup, feel free to email us through those 2 contacts that you see on the website, on the slide. Thank you, and have a good afternoon, everyone. Bye.